Wife and Kids or the Bernie Mac show?
Oh my goodness. Okay. So actually, crazy story. I was on Mr. 3000 with Bernie Mac. I actually was, yeah, I was in that
Really?
movie. I was in that movie. And Bernie Mac was amazing. He was the sweetest guy. He talked to all of us. And yeah, I was one of the interviewers that was on set. So it was so fun.
Welcome to the most overrated, underappreciated, most viewed, underviewed podcast of all time. Welcome to the Prince of Fresh Air. I'm of course your host, the beloved, the most charismatic man in entertainment. Beat that, Dwayne the Rock Johnson. Anyway, welcome back to another episode. I hope everybody's having a great week, great month. Happy New Year's to everybody. You know the weather has been terrible, but you know what? We're making it through, and there's so much to be grateful for in life. Whether you're struggling, you're having success, there's always something to be positive and try to be mindful of. And speaking of that, I think my next guest embodies all of that. She is someone who's making her mark not only in entertainment, but for many people affected across the world, whether it's in America or Europe. Now, you might be wondering, what am I referring to? Well, no need to fear because I have the information to give you. So please let me introduce my next guest, Amie. Amie, she's an actress, cancer survivor, entrepreneur, host of the Loving Your Life, Be Authentically You podcast, former pageant competitor, and happiness coach at the truehappiness.com. And she also hosts the Mystic Goddess podcast. She also directed a music together program, empowering families through music, and has created her own Christian album, God's Amazing Grace, donating proceeds to orphans affected by war in Europe. She has a tremendous story, so much we're going to get into. And, I'm really looking forward to this conversation, not only just for me, but for anybody who might be going through something similar. So please help me introduce Amie Jelich Yaniak. Welcome to the
Yeah.
podcast.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on. You are, I got to read your bio and your story, and I think so many people are going to learn a lot and, take away not only some fun moments, but some happy moments as well. Because you embody all of that. So enough of me rambling. Let's get to you because this is not about me. So, I know you mentioned you grew up with Croatian parents,
Mhm.
and you suffered bullying as a kid. So let's just start it from there. Bullying and stuff, how did that come about, and how did you overcome that chapter of your life?
It's really interesting because I want to tell you a quick little story about that because I kind of have forgotten a lot about the bullying. And just recently, my daughter went back to my ex husband's house and brought back all of these like notes from when I was in high school, literally yesterday. And the box was just there, and I was talking about things. The box fell over, and I was like, I need to look at this. I looked at it and I read some of the notes, and there was a lot of bullying in there. And I was just like, wow, like people were just saying negative things about me and about how I am, and that I'm like, I was a delinquent and all of these things. And I graduated college and all of that, but it really came to my head. And I had to really think how far I've come and how I let that affect me. So bullying was all about people being, making fun of me, making fun of my religious beliefs, everything. Like it was just constantly just saying things about me, and I took it to heart. And
Wow.
so I really had to look at, you know, I know that when you're in that, you're like, you're in that and you feel it, but I took it and I literally made it my identity. And I realized that, but through that whole thing, I was strong too because there was another girl who was being bullied in school, and I was the person that was on top. Like, no, you're not going to bully her. You're not going to bully her. So I was being bullied, but then she was being bullied. I'm like, no, you're not. I was protecting her. So I really learned that, and I also learned compassion. I really learned compassion, and so getting through it, there was a couple things. So I learned compassion through it. Also, I realized I don't know, this was like 10 years ago. A gentleman called me. I was selling a product. He called me, said, Amy, I wasn't the one who bullied you, but there were a lot of people that did. And I remember, and I am so sorry. And I was like, what? So all of that actually has kind of healed me. And then just recently, even reading that was like, that's not me. This was their perception of me. And
Right.
so seeing that in a different way is really healing. And that's how I got through it. And I'm still getting through it, I guess, apparently, because I just read it 30 years later, 40 years later, whatever. I like, so I read it and I'm just like, oh my gosh. But yeah, bullying can be really hard for people and they take it on, especially as a child, because that's your identity. That's who, when people tell you that, or a parent, or a friend says you're delinquent, you're not going to graduate, you're getting F's, you're never going to make it in this world. You're too this, you're too that, you're too much. I was the type of person that was always like jumping up and down, excited, singing. That's me. And that's who I am. Like I
Mm.
wasn't trying to be someone I'm not. I'm at the grocery store singing, not doing it for anybody, just for me. I'm always that kind of person. And I started stuffing it down. I started losing me. I started being like, you know what? I'm not going to sing at church anymore. I can't sing anymore. I'm not even going to try in school because I'm a delinquent anyway. I started doing that stuff. And then
Right.
I realized, I helped myself get into like a homeschool based school because I was like, I wanted just that education. I just wanted to learn and I didn't want all of the extra stuff around me. And that's just really how I moved through my life.
That's incredible because for me, I've talked about it. You being in LA, you might know heard of Jubilee, the YouTube channel. I've worked with them and I've talked about it on this podcast a couple times. I was bullied a lot growing up, being in foster care, um, getting adopted as well. But a lot of people made fun of me for my skin color, not having real parents, and all that stuff. And I've spoken about how even in my earlier 20s that was something I was really still struggling with. Not so much the aftermath of the bullying, but the identity. I didn't know how I saw myself outside of being just an actor. I didn't know anything else. So for you, a lot of people might read some of those letters, and it might strike them in a negative way. It might make them remember a horrible time and regress a little bit. But for you, you was able to just kind of shrug it off. How was the process of getting over it? Because for some people it takes them a lifetime. Some people they never get over it, and now we're seeing so many kids unfortunately turn into suicide. Now you have social media, they're airing their grievances there. We're seeing people commit heinous school shootings. For you, how did you get over it? Was it just finding peers who were like-minded to you that you could confide in? Was it your family, your parents, or was it just something that took time to get over?
I think it took time. I think I became stronger through it. I was tenacious. So I took that as a character. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to get through this and I'm not going to let it define me. And reading those letters, I had people that even sent me like real letters of, you're amazing, you're wonderful, you're this, you're that. And I'm like, wow. But all my mind was thinking at the time was, I'm not. Even all of the positive, you get one negative comment, it doesn't matter. You can have thousands of positive ones, and you're just like, well, that's me. Why do we do that to ourselves? So, really seeing that, even just recently reading all of those letters, I was like, there was a lot of good and a lot of people that stood up for me and loved me and cared about me. And I didn't see it at the time. And so it was just like, and especially as your kid and a child, we really are focused on what's around us. We don't think there's anything else, right? Like it's just, this is all we have. And there's so much more to life. So I really just thought, you know what? I need to just step into being who I am, and the people that want to be on my path want to be on my path, and the people that don't want to be. And I had to finally be okay with that. Be
Mm.
okay with those people that make fun of me, probably still make fun of me, probably say I'm a dreamer, which yes I am, like all of those things. And I'm like, you know what? I had to make peace with that. That's their opinion, and they're seeing it through their lens. So as I'm reading these letters, I'm like, That's your lens that you thought I'm like that because that's not me. I remember this. I was in college and I was an RA and I was focused on, I graduated in 2.5 years in college, which is
Wow.
crazy. I know, it was crazy. And I
Lucky.
took 30 credits a semester and my director was like, there's no way. Like, nobody's ever done this. I'm like, yeah, well, watch me. I'm going to do it. Because I wanted to get to music therapy. That was my goal. So I knew I just wanted to graduate, get done. So I would be going from class to class to class to class with my head down in the books, not talking. And I became an RA, and the girls were like, we thought you were a you know what. And I'm like, me? Like, I'm not like that. But it was their perception of me.
Mm,
It was
yes.
their perception. And so I started seeing that going, that's your perception of what you're thinking. It's one moment, one snapshot. You meet someone and you make a judgment. You make a
Yes.
judgment. So then I realized if they're making judgments, also don't make a judgment about yourself. Because the thing is, when you start judging yourself, then you're judging others. So let's just be good in ourselves. We're not judging others. And that also was a different way of reframing things. A different way of reframing things. And this whole thing came from I'm a music therapist. I had a client. He's like, I judge this person. I judge that person on the street. I judge this person. And I said, do you judge yourself? He goes, yeah. I said, that's why you're doing that. Because you can't just not judge someone. You have to make an opinion or thought or this. Why don't we just love ourselves? If we can love ourselves, we can love others. We
Right.
can love others no matter what. And so it was like a reframing of all of that. And so I saw that and I saw those judgments of those people that just judge me snapshot like this. And I mean, you probably heard negative things. And I'm like, but that's not me. Like, that was through your lens. And
Right.
so when I started really loving who I am, then I was like, I don't judge. I don't judge. I honestly don't. I'm like, you are made amazing. You
Right.
are you. And if you have a bad day, you have a bad day. If you have a good day, you have a good day. But I'm not going to judge you on that one bad day that now you're just mean. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give you those benefit of the doubts. It was like teachers, people are like, you don't want to go to that teacher. He's just bad. And I was like, I'll find out myself. I would go to the teacher. He'd be my best teacher because it was how I was looking at it.
Right.
So that's how we have to be. We have to be compassionate with ourselves and then we don't judge. And if more people did that, there wouldn't be that bullying. There wouldn't be all of that because we just really love everybody, literally. And there's always good there. There is always good there. I believe it. Okay. I'm a person. I believe there's good there, even if people are doing not great things because we know that that happens too. But I truly believe that there's good there. It's just been tarnished. There's been
Yeah.
something that's happened in their life. And I've done that with music therapy when people tell me their stories and I'm like, oh, it breaks my heart. And then I see why they're doing what they're doing or feeling the way they're feeling. So having that compassion and understanding really can get you through it.
I 100% agree with that. I think if we, early in the podcast, my podcast journey, I talked a lot about social issues, police brutality, racism, all the stuff that happened during COVID. And, I always think back to the time when I was in college, and it wasn't that long ago, where I worked at a soup kitchen. My college had a place called the Warmer House. And it was the first time growing up in New York City, you look at it's just a way of life. You look at certain people and you don't associate with them. And now I'm here, I'm working with them. People who are homeless, struggling with mental disorders. A lot of veterans that were there that were, low income, struggling. And you really learn about people because you see somebody who might be going through something and you automatically think, oh, they're homeless, they're bum, they're drug addict, get them away from me. But then you get to know them as a person. That person could be a veteran who just fell on hard times and is struggling to find his way back. And so for me, I learned a lot about humility through those 4 years because if I didn't go through that, I would probably still judge people just because that's how I was raised. And I think that's why so many people are the way they are, is because they grew up a certain way. And
Mhm.
it's not always, a negative connotation on their parents, but it just could be the community that they grew up in. that they learn certain principles and they never expand beyond that. And so it takes them forever, if they ever grow out of it, to see a different lens. And I 100% agree with you. I think if we have more compassion as a society, that we would be a lot better. And
Yes.
I could go on a tangent about that the whole time, but I want to ask you that. Speaking about happiness and everything, I want to ask you something. Because I know at one point, you wanted to take your life and your children, and you wanted to do something for yourself. Pursue your music and your acting career, and you moved to Los Angeles. We often hear stories, and as someone who lived in LA, you often hear stories of, what's that one show, 90210.
Oh yeah, I used to watch
you know
that.
I didn't watch it. I do know about it. I do know, because that was a little bit before my time, but I do remember seeing it on cable. But you hear about the glamorous life of LA. For you, you moved there for music and acting. You took your family with you. How was that? Were you shocked by LA? And what are some things that, when you first moved there, maybe positive or negative, but what is some things that when you moved there for your journey that you learned about not only yourself but maybe the craft as well?
So my whole thing was I wasn't really going for me. That was not what I was doing. I loved acting. Yes, I was in theater. I did love acting and I loved singing, all of that, right? But I wasn't going for me. I was going for my kids. And so we went to World Championship of Performing Arts. We actually got a scholarship to attend in Hollywood. And my daughter and I performed. We sang. She did an acting monologue. She did modeling, learned it. We met industry professionals, because when you think of Hollywood or California, you're like, you see the magazines, right? I used to see the magazines and be like, oh, that's untouchable. Like, there's no way I can't be, you would think like that. So going to that event, I met people and I'm like, they're normal people. Like, these are just industry professionals that love what they do. And it was a very different feeling. So when I got back to Illinois, where we were from, I was like, well, let me see what I can do with my daughter. She loved it. She loved acting. She loved all of that. So I'm like, all right, let's see. So I started contacting managers and agents. You're not supposed to do that. Okay. You're not really supposed to do that, like on the phone, but I did. I called and I just figured it out. And I was asking questions like, is this really a good? I met people that were like Christian and different things, right? And I was like, is this really a good way for me to go? Because I was scared with my kids. And we talked and we had a great conversation. They're like, send me your stuff. I'll send you some Disney auditions. So we started doing that. And they said, she's too green. She doesn't really know what to do. Well, I'm like, well, of course, we've never done anything. So we were just working on getting lessons. So I got Zoom lessons or Skype, I think at the time. We were doing lessons. And then we ended up going to, it was in, where was it? In Missouri. Missouri, there was an audition for Disney. And this was a real Disney audition with the casting director. And my daughter went in, did it, sang, got a call back. And I'm like, what? And she's doing this all on her own at, 8, 9 years old. And I'm like, okay, there's something there. So we went back. She didn't make it to the next round, which is fine. But it was like that open door. So we go to Chicago, and Chicago's like, she's more California. I'm like, I don't even know what that means, but okay. So I was like, I'm like, okay.
I know what that means now, but yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah.
All right. So they're like, so they shelved her and they just like, she's more California. So I was like, all right, well, if it's meant to be, I'm always like that. If it's meant to be, I believe in believing before seeing. I've always believed in that. I believe I'm in a manifester. I'm believing. I have faith. I'm that kind of person. And so I was like, if it's meant to be, someone's going to reach out to us that I called or sent or something. So we got a message and a manager said, we want to see her in California. And I was like, they're like, want to see her tomorrow. I'm like, well, I'm kind of in Illinois. Like, I can't do it tomorrow, but we can do it in a week. Like, I don't even know. It was just like, okay. And I was homeschooling my kids because my daughter was being bullied and my son was struggling. So I was homeschooling him at the time, and I'm like, we're going to go to California. I have no idea where I'm going. People were telling me, you're crazy. Don't go. You don't know anyone. Why would you do that? Like, you have to have it in before you go. And I'm like, no, there's a reason. I don't know what the reason is, but the doors are open. I booked American Court with Judge Ross. out of the blue. Like, I didn't even,
Wow.
I know. It was crazy. I literally went to the audition and I'm like, there's all these people, right? Like hundreds of people. And they all have briefcases and, because they're very professional. And I'm like, so what do you do? Yeah, I'm in acting school. Yeah, I'm doing this. I'm doing this. And I'm like, I'm just a mom. Okay. Like I had no clue what I was doing. But
Yeah.
apparently I had life experience, is what they wanted. So when we did the mock up of like, I think it was like a scenario and it was about a business or something. And when we did the mock up, I just went off of what I thought. And so I get the call and they're like, yeah, we want you to be on it. I'm like, are you sure it's me? Like, are you the right name? Like, I really didn't think I did it. So we booked those two things and I'm like, this is incredible. And I had so much fun. Like, I had fun. She had fun. And then we booked a game show from Disney. It was a game show that we did. And that was amazing. And so it was just like these things just kept happening. And I was just open to it. I was completely open to it. And then the next month, we ended up staying. I actually got in a car accident, which is crazy. So we ended up staying another month. Yeah, we ended up staying another month and things started happening. And then they're like, we got a manager that really wanted us. And like, well, you need to come back. And I'm like, well, we got to go back home. Like, I don't know what we're going to do. And that's kind of how the whole journey started. So it really started with them wanting it, my daughter wanting it, and my daughter was singing. She started recording her first couple songs, and we did a song together in the studio. So all of this stuff was happening because it was almost like, to me, it's a month. Like, we're just having a month. We're gonna have the best time. We're gonna have the best acting coaches. Like, we're just gonna do it. Like, I just felt, let's do it. We're probably never gonna be back. That was my thought. And
Right.
now, what, 9, 10 years later, I'm still here. It's crazy to me, and I still don't even know how it's happened. But I don't really see negative in the industry. Like, I don't see it as much. I think I was surrounding myself with really good people. So I never saw that negative part of it. And she never got into like a series regular role or anything like that. So I can't really speak to that. But I can speak to the people that we've worked with. And they've been really great. And I've met the best friends here too.
That's incredible. I'm really glad everything worked out because LA. When I started my journey, I was strictly theater. By the time I was about a senior in high school is when I really started dabbling into the TV and film stuff. And I want to ask you this as a parent because we often hear a lot of our favorite childhood actors, Macaulay Culkin, Orlando Brown, the list goes on and on. A lot of the names that made it from the early 90s to the 2000s, especially Disney Channel. And we often hear stories about how hard it is, especially for kids to grow up in this industry. For you, how hard was it, and maybe your journey was a little more easier,
Mhm.
but how hard was it to avoid the scams, because oftentimes people like to prey on people's hopes and dreams, like that they call it. How did you avoid, just navigating through the industry for your daughter? Because it is easy to throw money at headshots at acting classes and then find out that it was just nonsense. It wasn't true. How did you avoid all of that? And was just able to just stay clear on the mission itself.
So I think surrounding myself with the right people. So when we first moved here, we moved to Avalon, or it was called Oakwood at the time. There's a whole story on it. You can actually watch the episode of it. So I watched an episode of what it's like to be in Oakwood, what it's like to be in the industry, all of that. And there was some negative things too, like you're saying, but I watched it. And so I surrounded myself with people that knew. So I was with people like lawyers, entertainment lawyers, managers, agents, friends. Like, I was with those people that were doing it. So I had people that I would ask questions to constantly because I wanted to make sure. There's those Disney auditions, right, that are fake. I mean, my friend even told me while I was out here, she's like, yeah, my son's going to this Disney audition. But then what? You have to pay for headshots and you have to pay for this, and you have to pay for that. You know those ones, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, I'm like, don't do it. The real one is the real casting directors. You got to go to the real people. So I was always focused on that, the real acting coaches, and I would ask questions, a lot of questions, and kept my kids very safe. Because you're right, it could have been a totally different world. My daughter just mentioned that. She's like, thank you, Mom, for being there for me through all of this. Like I said, I would never allow them alone anytime. And when they were on set doing something, I was right there. Like, I could see them. They were there with me. If we're changing, I'm right there, like everything. So I was always hands on mom. And that was my goal. So I literally was doing that full time. There would be auditions. Like my son did Little Sheldon. He got a call back for Little Sheldon, which was
Nice.
crazy. I know. It's so crazy. He probably could still be it too if he would have gotten it because he's still short. But he,
Don't let him hear
but
this.
I know, right? But he's such a good actor. And the way we did that was interesting. I'll just tell you a little story. I recorded it on my phone and I had it next to him, or it was my pod. I don't know if it was an iPod or my phone. I don't know. Anyway, I had it next to him and I played it over and over and over again. And then I put it back on in the night and I played over and over and again. And it was 2 pages of monologue. And it was like words he's never heard before because he was young. And he got up and he knew it, and he's an auditorial listener. So I knew that. So he got up, did it, and then got the call back. So I was just, I was always in it. Or I picked them up from school because then my son would finally go to school. And I was like, okay, you've got an audition. Here's the paper. Let's go through it. We're driving. Okay, we're going to this. Got your clothes. Like it was full time. It was completely full time. But it was fun and they grew from it. And to
Nah.
me, that was the most important thing. It wasn't about, hey, the money, this, that, right? I mean, people, yeah, want that, but that's not what it was about. For me, it was about the growth of my children, how they were learning, and the good of it. And that now they could actually go to an interview with an adult interview and actually nail it if they
Right.
wanted to. That was
That,
important to me.
this is what we want to hear because I'll be honest about this because I think one of the reasons why it's refreshing to hear your take on it is we have heard those stories of parents taking advantage of their kids in the entertainment industry, and I get it, especially if you're a certain child actor, you're making a lot of money, you can easily fall into that. Maybe I could quit my day job and live off of this. And I think, the industry has changed from the 80s and 90s, and now there's more protection for children on set. They have the Coogan account and
Yes.
all that stuff. But I think it's very important for people to hear stories like this because oftentimes what gets told is the hard parents, the parents that take all the kids' money and leave them high and dry, and the kids are, on the street at 21, trying to make ends meet. So I think it's phenomenal to hear a positive influence, because this, on social media, there's a lot of, adults and kids, trying to find the next thing in the entertainment industry, always trying to book something, always trying to find something to work on. And I think it's important to highlight, parents like you and your kids, because I think, like I said, oftentimes we don't hear these type of stories. We hear the more egregious ones. And I think, for anybody who's listening with kids, and I know there's a couple people who have kids who listen to this podcast, I think this is what we need more to hear. But
Yes.
not to switch the mood because we're having a good time. But I do want to ask you something.
Mhm.
And I mentioned it at the top of the show. You went through something traumatic yourself.
Yes.
And I know your kids are your focal point, but sometimes you have to take a step back and prioritize certain things. So you went through a health scare, a health problem, and you don't have to share everything that you are uncomfortable with, but talk
Mhm.
to us about that. Cancer. That my mom went through that. My adopted mom. She went through that for a period of 10 years. For you, how was that period, and how are you doing now?
Okay, so I still have it. I'm still dealing with it. It basically changed my whole life. It completely changed my whole life. So it's crazy. I have follicular thyroid cancer, which people think, oh, that's an easy cancer, but it metastasized into my bones. That when they took out the thyroid, there was nothing there. So my doctors basically said, live your life between treatments. We don't know what's going to happen. That's all that I got. And my doctor was like, I've done this surgery how many times and I've never seen this. So that was kind of where I was at. But how it happened was I literally was in pain. I was walking with a friend in Santa Monica Pier. She's taller than me. So I thought, hey, maybe I'm just walking fast. I don't know. And I was in pain. I was in pain. And so I came home, took some Advil, was feeling awful. And I was just like, what is going on? So the next day, I flew her, went to the airport, drove her back, came back home, still in pain. And I'm just, what again? What is going on? I had a friend who actually does massages, and I'm like, maybe I need a massage. Maybe it's just the muscles. Something's going on. No, it was awful. So he ended up taking me straight to the ER, picking me up, taking me there. Couldn't walk, nothing. At that point, they started checking out things, and they're like, you need to go to. It was urgent care I first went to. You need to go to the ER. And I was like, wait, what? What's going on? So we go to the ER, and then they admitted me to the hospital for about a month and a half. And they started doing all these tests. And they said, oh no, you have cancer in your bones. It is here. It's spread, all of this. So I had it in my ribs, both sides of my ribs, my acetabulum, my hip, my spine, and there's a new one in my sternum now that's new. But there's so it just kind of just kept spreading. And I was ended up being in a wheelchair because it ate through the bone on my hip. And so they had to put a 6-inch screw in. Yeah. So at that point, when I was told I have cancer, he was there with me. It's funny. It's a crazy story, but he actually is my ex boyfriend. So after I was divorced, I was with him, and we just separated amicably, but we became friends, and he took care of me, and like 24/7. I don't think I could have gotten through it without him, because it was such a scary moment. And when we were told I had cancer, it was just like, what do I do now? What do I do? So I ended up forgiving myself for everything, forgiving other people, and saying, this, I'm going to live my life the way that I want to live it authentically. That was the biggest thing I said. Didn't know how long I had, didn't know if I just had a minute, didn't know anything. But I was like, this is going to change my life. And I went on TikTok and I shared, if you are in pain, go check it out, because I didn't think it was anything. So I'm like, if you're in pain, go check it out. And then all of a sudden my TikTok blew up, and I was like, oh, I guess I'm helping people. Like it was, I didn't even, that's not the reason. I remember looking and I was like 4 or 5 thousand people. And I'm like, wait, what just happened? So I was blown away by that. And it was crazy too, because my friend just had breast cancer prior. And so I told her, in my head, I was like, I just wish I could take that away from her. And then 3 months later, I get cancer. Like it was just crazy how all of this was happening. And so we were there for each other as well. So completely changed my life. And I realized everything I did had to be intentional. Everything I had with the kids, I had to be right there with them. No more of this, being in my headspace of something else. Really have to be there and be present. So things changed in that respect, and completely made my life go into 180. And then my podcast, Loving Your Life, Be Authentically You. I had a little podcast, but nobody really cared. But I had a little podcast, and then a friend's like, hey, let's make it bigger. Let's interview people. So I interviewed celebrities. I interviewed people. And I was like, let me do that, because I want people to see what authenticity looks like. If you can show me authenticity, let's be on my podcast. And I want you to say, this is who I am. This is who I am, right? Without all this other stuff. Because what do you have to lose at the point when your life's about to end? But let's do it beforehand. Let's do it before you get that, your life's going to end. Live in it. Live in it. Do your bucket list, your fun list. Go live your life. It's only your life. At the end of the day, it's you on your pillow. And you don't know when the last moment is.
Yeah, it's admirable, to go through something like still going through it, and I wish you a healthy journey, and I hope you
Thank
get
you.
through this, because I know it's not easy, but it's admirable because I think, and there's no fault on the person, but to go through an experience like that when you first hear it, that shock could be either this is it, I'm done, I'm giving up, or it could be let's fight for this. And I'm not here to say one is right and one is wrong because I've never been through that, so I can't really call anybody out for that. But
Yeah.
I think it's admirable to go through something like that and still not only find the strength to fight it, but still be there, for the point moments with your kids, and still find passion to do other things. So let me ask you, because you brought up the podcast, and I was going to ask you about it anyway. Um, did that start um at the peak of when this happened, when cancer started, or was this something as you started, getting a little healthier? You like let's get this off the ground.
Yeah, I think it was later. So like I said, I did TikToks and stuff, right? So I kind of did that and I helped people through that. But the podcast that I had before, like I said, nobody really listened to it and nobody even knew it was there. But a friend of mine, it was probably a good year, maybe year and a half, that she was like, "Hey, I do this. Let me help you. Let's get this going. You need to write a book. You need that." I'm like, "What?" Like, it was crazy. And I didn't think I really had a story to tell. So I then decided, you know what? I love talking to people about authenticity and truth. And so that's when that all came about. And it healed me because even throughout that journey, I was in the hospital. I get, my numbers go up, my numbers go down. I am freaking out about it. I have also a giant cell bone tumor on my finger. That happened over 10 years ago now. And now there's like, it started moving. I had an infection. I was in the hospital this Christmas. Like, all of this stuff is happening, but I'm still living in that. So I felt like, you know what, if I can help people in one way or another, or inspiring people to step into who they are before any of this happens, then that's amazing. Because even me playing piano with the giant cell bone tumor is hard now. And that was my joy and my passion. And I took it for granted. I
Yeah,
completely took it for granted. I took for granted walking. I took for granted seeing. I took for granted opening my eyes. And it was like, no, don't take anything for granted and be grateful for everything you have. Grateful for being on this podcast right now. Grateful for everything.
right,
You have to be. And that's where we have to live, in our authenticity and our truth and who we are, and grateful. And without all of this, right? Like the bullying and all the stuff we talked about, all of that, let that go, because that doesn't need to be there.
right. I've never felt that before. But just to make a little lighthearted, stupid
Yeah.
joke. I know what you're talking about because a couple weeks ago, my pipes froze and I didn't have water for 2 days. And it
Yeah.
makes you realize how much you take granted just the basic things that we have. And so, just in a much grander scale, and in all seriousness, note though, you are right. I think oftentimes, you know, before I uh last year I was working at a senior citizen facility, and I worked with a lot of older clients. Most of them was in the 80s and 90s. A lot of them were suffering from all different types of ailments. But I remember this one gentleman, nice guy. I hope he's alive and well. But I remember he was telling me, he was just like, live in the moment and be grateful for everything because you don't know when it'll end. And Dennis, I hope he's doing well. He was 86.
Mhm.
He supported the podcast. He was 85. He had a 86. He got a smartphone. And I remember one time I showed up to work and he came down and he was like, "Hey Percy, what's the name of the podcast? Let me find this." And he took the time to go on YouTube and watch it. And he reported me. He reported to me the next day. I loved it. I'm gonna watch it every day when I go for my walks. And that's the stuff that makes you you know humble and grateful. Because when somebody of like him, he can easily be like, I don't care, screw this. But he was always patient, humble, and respectful. And he always tried to instill that into me. So I do want to take the time and acknowledge the fact that you went through a situation like that and you came out. And you're still going through it, of course, but you're on the side of being grateful and mindful. Because I think so much time in this society we live in right now, it's easy to kind of fall into that. I hate everybody, screw everybody.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
give a crap. But you give it back, and I want to acknowledge that because you're interviewing a lot of named celebrities on the show. You talk about a lot of different topics, and I think these are the type of conversations we have now, that we should have now. But I do want to ask you, being a podcaster yourself,
Mhm.
and you also a co-host of another podcast, and we'll touch on all that in a second.
Okay.
But I want to ask you this because I was having this conversation with a different publicist a while ago, and we was talking about the state of social media. Social media has been a godsend, of course, for branding, acting, podcasting, and all that stuff,
For sure.
but it is that negative side to it.
Mhm.
And for someone like you who might share your content, I've not been short of amazed how many people despite the fact that you're trying to promote positive messages, will still go in the comments and you suck and all this stuff. How do you feel about the state of social media? Not just from um, your health standpoint, but maybe just as a career standpoint too, because I think oftentimes it could be it's beneficial, but it has its negative connotations to it.
For sure, for sure. When I was doing Facebook lives, I remember this one woman who actually was like, I would be on the car doing my car karaoke for fun because I just did fun stuff and I just wanted to smile. And she was like, "Wow, that was a waste of time." And I was like, "Well, you don't have to watch it. Like, if that's not for you, don't watch it." But I just said, "Have a wonderful day. I hope your day's going great." That was it. Eventually, she started like messaging and talking, and things start changing. Again, it's their lens right now, right? Because sometimes people are struggling and they don't want to see someone happy. It's almost like when someone's in love and you're like, "Well, I'm not in love," right? And you're like,
Yeah,
you're feeling like you're married, it's gonna break up. You're not gonna, you're like
yeah,
negative about it, right? Because you're just like, I know, whatever. And so, and so
it's
you
gonna
just
break
feel,
up.
yeah, you just break up. So why are you telling me about that? And it's like, no, it's your lens that you're seeing through. It's what you've experienced, what you've been through, what you've been, accustomed to, all of that. So that's how you have to look at it with all those negative comments. So that's kind of how I do it. And I realize the more the positive I am, the people just kind of dwindle off because they don't want to keep seeing it. Like even some people are like, "You're just so positive." I'm like, I am. And you're going to see that. I mean, there's days, I will be honest, I'm not sad. I'm not crying. I'm going, my numbers went up. I mean, there are days, but do I really want to share that with you? I mean, sometimes I do to help people get through it, right? But do I
Right.
really want to put you in that so that now you're like, there's so much negative in this world. Do I want to put you in that and then be like, "Oh God, now she's dying. Oh," and it goes on and on and on? Or let's say there's like a fight with someone, right? And you're going to tell someone about it. And then they're like, "Oh yeah, well, that person's awful." And they just keep going on about that. Well, that was a moment. It was a moment. The next moment, you're like, "Oh, it's rainbows and unicorns." Like it's perfect. And so, why do we put people in that? And that's always how I've lived. Like, I don't want to put people in that, even if there's something negative, to really put people in it because they'll stay there. People will attach to the negative and stay there. So keep the positive going. And if people don't want to hear it, they don't want to hear it. Then they can go to the news, they can go to whatever they want and listen there. They don't have to hear my positivity. And that's okay. And again, they don't have to like me. I got to a point where I'm like, they don't have to like me. If you like me, great. If you don't, if you do, great. If you don't, you don't. If you want to be my friend, great. If you don't, you don't. Like, it's okay because I'm okay with me. And I think that's when you finally say, at the end of the day, even if it's just me and me, it's me and me, and it's okay.
Absolutely. Now, speaking about you, I want to touch on something. You directed a Music Together program,
Yeah.
and empowering families through music, and you give the proceeds to orphans and the youth in Europe who are struggling as well. And I think that is what we need more people who give back. So let's talk about that. How did you get involved in this, and how has that journey been for you?
Sure. So basically, I was a music therapist. That was my degree. And within that program in Wisconsin, they trained me to be a music together teacher. So I started doing music with children from birth to 5. So that was kind of the whole thing that I started doing. Then when I moved to Illinois, I had my own, they're like, "Hey, let's do it at this little church." And they just wanted me to come in and do it. So I started doing it. Then I started getting 5 locations and teachers, and I just started making it bigger. At that point, we were donating actually to Dax Locke Foundation, which was for cancer, children with cancer. His story was actually, there was a movie about him and things like that. And he was in our community at the time. So I was doing that for Music Together. Now, for my CD, which I think you're referring to, was God's Amazing Grace, I actually, that was crazy. I was asked to come to not California, to Florida, to perform at a meatpacking convention and to sing. And I was like, okay. So I planned 3 songs. I know, crazy. So I planned 3 songs, got there, and I think I only did 2 because the guy had I had other people saying or whatever. And my mom's like, oh, you didn't get to do everything you wanted to do. I'm like, it's okay, no big deal. I'm always like that. If it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. It will happen when it's supposed to happen. So the next day we're at a polka hall because my parents, I mean, my dad is what, 92 now. My mom's going to be 90.
Ooh,
So
nice.
yeah. Yeah. So we were dancing at a polka hall and of course I'm always eating a chocolate chip cookie or something. This is my mom. This is let me just give you a little taste of my mom. I'm literally eating a chocolate cookie. She's like, hey, go sing. And like in the break. And I'm like, okay. So I go and I say, yes, mom. Okay. So she looks and I say, I'm like, all right, I'll get it, whatever. So I sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow a cappella. This guy was there. He liked it. He said, I want you to create this Christian CD for me. It's nonprofit. Let's do it. All right, fine. So he sends me back to Florida. I think it was like 6 months later. Sends me back to Florida. We're in the studio recording. Get it done. I get it. It wasn't totally mastered. So I took the CD and I mastered it and also had like speaking between it because it was like for ministry. So I wanted just my own CD. So I went and I got the hard drive, got it mastered in Illinois, all the stuff. And then I was like, I'm going to sell it. I'm going to do concerts. So I did a concert in Florida. I did a concert in Illinois. And I was a part of the Godparenthood program, which was for kids that were affected by the war in Croatia. So this is when all the bombing was happening and actually kids lost their fathers. So I speak Croatian. And so I started translating for these parents, these moms, with the people that actually donated to them. So we'd bring people from the United States there and then get to meet the godparents or the parents. So it was so neat. So that was another letter I just found too of someone saying, thank you for translating. Like, it's so crazy how all this is coming. But I was like, I was doing that. And then I thought, I want to donate money for this organization. And so the money that I was making with my CDs, I was donating to the Godparenthood program for these families who had lost their fathers within the war.
That's incredible. But I want to ask you why. Because a lot of people don't give back, and we often hear, and a lot of people criticize people who have loads of money. They don't really go out their way to help the other people. But why did you feel like that was something that you should take up? Because oftentimes I've noticed, unfortunately, in America, a lot of people it's a selfish. A lot of people are selfish, and they only want to take care of their own home front. But to give back, it takes a certain individual. And I know not everybody has the means to give back, so I'm not criticizing that. But what made you get into it? Because you could have easily just focused on your own life, your kids, and just did that. What made you get involved in helping that cause?
Well, so first of all, because I was in it with the war, right? Because I was doing the translation. So I heard the stories. So it was really very personal to me. And I also saw the parents or the people in the United States that were helping and we were giving like the money was going straight to them. So I also wanted to do that. So it was just a little bit of that as well as when the war was happening. I was the one with my mom, like giving shoes to people when all of the city was bombed. And we were giving shoes to the kids and giving paper and pen and things like that. So these kids had no shoes. I mean, it was bombed everywhere. It looked like a movie. It was awful. So I was also doing that on top of it. And so I was really very passionate about it. Plus I knew the money was going somewhere that was supposed to go. It wasn't going to be taken for paying people. It was literally going to the kids or to the families. And that was important to me. So I wanted to make sure that wherever I give, it's not going to be this overhead that's huge and it doesn't go to where it's supposed to go. So that was also very, very important to me. And I remember my mom did the Godparenthood program. That's what she did. She was asked to do it from Croatia. So she did that program and she'll never, I think she told me this, like basically the government came to her and said, hey, there's no way you're giving all this money to them. You have to be taking out some for yourself because nonprofits do that, right? She's like, no, I don't want to take out anything. I pay my little worker one thing and I don't take anything. I want it all for the kids. So to me, they thought it was like fraudulent because they're like, there's no way that a nonprofit can do this. And it's like, no, you can. You can set up a nonprofit to really help that person if you're not, because paying all that overhead and we don't know where the money is going. So for me, that was so important to me that it is going to those families. And that's when I really feel like I want that to go there, especially even the Dax Locke Foundation I told you about. It went straight to Julie, who's the mom of the boy who passed away. So to me, that's when I'm like, okay, I can give. And I felt very confident in giving. And also with the CD, I would sell the CD for 20 and I would give some of the profits to them. And as long as my costs were made with the CD, I was like, you know what? It's okay. I want to give.
I want to ask you, I've never seen that situation before, but when you're there, and a lot of people will do documentaries, document their time, helping with causes like this. What is it like? Because I think we have become a little desensitized to wars and violence and all that stuff. But when you're in the thick of it and you're seeing the kids, you're seeing families broken, how is that? And does it take you a while when you finally leave? Does it take you a while to kind of get back to normal, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, especially seeing the bombings and all of that, it felt so surreal. It felt like a movie, like a Hollywood movie. And so for giving the shoes to the kids, and the kids were like, oh, yes, they wanted it and the food. And they were just like wanting it so much. It was really, it made me realize what we have in United States. It made me realize how grateful that's when I really started taking everything. Like I was grateful for everything, every piece of anything I eat, everything. That really brought me to that because even shoes were so important. A pen, paper, food, like everything. So yeah, and then especially when translating for these moms that had lost their husbands and the children who did not have their father anymore, the horror stories were horrific. And so hearing that was also just like I was just like, "Oh my god, my heart was breaking." It literally
Right.
would break for them. And so having those people helping each other was just such a beautiful experience. But to really get back to the life that you have when you get back, it totally brings you to a new place. Like you
Yes.
just are grateful for everything you have. And then you see people through new eyes too, right? Because there's people that you would think, oh, well, they don't have anything. No, it's the war that happened. It's the war. They don't have anything because of that now. So you start seeing and reframing things in that way. Again, compassion, empathy, truth. And that's when you really start seeing life in a different way.
Yes. Amen to that. That's very impactful. And I'm glad that we've had this conversation so far because I think there's so much to learn, and even for me, I don't pretend to know everything, and I'm always trying to learn from other people, and I'm certainly doing that now because I know I've tried to do my part, in a smaller way, and maybe I didn't touch a lot of people, but what you're doing and what you have done, that takes a lot of selflessness to go out there and not only give back but to be involved in a situation like that because a lot of people wouldn't want to be involved in something like that, especially if it's not impacting them personally. So I just want to say thank you for all the work
Mhm.
you've been doing because like I said, it's easy. You could just be sitting back. I don't care, but you know what, you're taking the initiative to go out there and help people. But
Mhm.
let's switch to something a little happier because
Okay.
as we talk about giving back, at some point, I'm a belief that God always, not to make this too religious, and I know not everybody believes in God, but I think when you do something good comes back to you. So
Yes.
is this true? I gotta mention this. So I'm doing my research and I'm thinking, okay, this is cool. She's doing this. Oh wow, okay. But then I stumble on something. So apparently you won the showcase showdown on The Price is Right. Is this true?
Yes.
Uh,
Yes. 100%.
can I get $1,000, please? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Uh,
100%. And
how?
oh my gosh. Okay. So I was literally working on my mindset at the time. This is before I even had cancer. I was working on my mindset. I was working on loving my life and being in that moment and being present and just, I called it my love bubble. Literally, there's in the Washington Post, there's an article about me, literally saying I was in the love bubble. I literally was. I was in this bubble of I wanted everybody to win. Like, I am not the type of person that, like, let me just win and nobody else is going to win. I'm not like that. I want everybody to just be in their happiness, whatever that looks like for them. So I was in that moment. And I remember I literally had a dream that I was spinning the wheel. And I was like, what? We didn't have a TV at the time. And I was like, what is this? And I'm like, Price is Right? Like, what? So the next day I get an email saying you want to be on The Price is Right as like just a member, audience member, right? And I'm like, well, my mom's coming into town. That'd be fun for her. Why not? Let's go next week. So that was just like me going, let me just try it. Why not? So we're heading there. I wasn't feeling great either. Didn't tell anybody that. But I was like, not like at the cold. I wasn't feeling great. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to go. I'm seeing all these people. I'm like, they probably picked their people. Like, I'm just going to have fun with my mom. We're just going to have fun and enjoy it. So they go through and they're going through each person and they're like, so what do you do? And all this stuff. And again, I'm thinking they already picked people. I'm like, well, I make guacamole. I had made guacamole for like 6 months. Like, it was like the craziest little job I had because it was the beginning of my divorce process. So I was like, I needed to get a job and I was making guacamole at this Mexican restaurant. So I'm like, I make guacamole and I sing. Don't know why I said that, but anyway, and then the next person went, and I'm clapping. I'm like, yes, you go, keep talking. Like, I'm loving this. I like your energy. Like, I was just happy for everybody. So we get there, they bring my name, Amie Yaniak, across the screen. And I'm like, wait, what? Me? So I run up there. First 3 people go up. I'm not getting it. Next person goes up because there's like 3 and 3. So then they spin the wheel. Then there's the next person. And you only have 2 more chances after that, right? This was a really eye-opening experience for me because I never truly trusted myself. Never. So I was like, these people behind me, like, we got you, we're going to tell you. And I'm like, okay, so I'm trusting them. Missing everything. And not to say that they didn't know, I just was missing everything. So I'm like, you know what? Trust yourself. Like, who here in this audience, it was a TV and a DVD player, which I really needed. I was like, I want to get a TV for my kids. Like, I wanted it so bad. So I'm like, I had asked about it. I'm like, I want a TV. Oh, I also had said before that I need a car because my lease was going to be expired and I didn't know what I was going to do because I didn't have the money. So I was like, I have a car. But I was always like, I have a car. Not even I need a car. I just have a car. I always knew I had a car. Where? Yeah. Oh, no. But I had a car. So I was like, I was just living in that high vibration, happy, go lucky, dreamy, unrealistic moment, literally, because it's unrealistic, but it was real to me. So I was like, okay. Anyway, so I was like, who here owns an electronics store? And I'm like, who could it be? And so I was like, well, it's this person here. And they give me a price. And I was like, I think it's this. So I told the price because I felt it. I felt like we were in alignment. So I got the TV and the DVD player. Then the next one is a car. I'm the first one to get the car. And I'm like, what? This is crazy because I went to Wisconsin that's where I ended up getting married. That's where I did my music therapy. This guy was from Wisconsin and he did I think it was the Boys and Girls Club and he helped people. And so they had given him a car. And I'm like, all of this is connecting. Like, this is amazing. Wow. I know, right? So I was like, oh my gosh. So then he's there and I'm like, I don't even know. I didn't even know how much a car is. I think it was a Mini Cooper, red Mini Cooper. I'm like, what's the price? I have no idea. And so the thing's going up, 150 increments. And I'm looking at everybody like, okay, trust again. Just look and know. And I'm like, okay, here we go. So I look back in the audience and they're kind of all doing this. I'm like, really? Now? Okay. And I do it and I jump into Drew Carey's arms. I'm like, I was freaking out. He was laughing. And so I got the car, the Mini Cooper. And I'm like, did this just literally happen? I just got a car? Like, wow. What? I was pinching myself going, this is not real. How could this even be real? And then so then the next thing was the wheel that I get to spin, right? On my dream was the wheel. So the first person that gets to spin, because I was the last person because I had the most prizes, right? So the first person spins and I believe she got 85 cents. That's high. The next person gets over $1. Out. My turn. I'm like, thank you for my kids. La, 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 la. And I spin it. I almost fell. Literally, it's really heavy. Anyway, I spin it and I got 90 cents. So now I'm in the Showcase Showdown. And I'm thinking, this doesn't happen to me. Like, what is going on? Like, what is going on? But I was feeling just this love and this, everybody was there with me. And it was like no competition. It was just beautiful. So Showcase Showdown comes. Showcase Showdown was like a trip to Africa, a wave runner, and another car. And I'm like, I already have a car. I don't need one. Like, I'm
Right.
good. Like, I was so like, just like,
Wow.
I can't. And I can't go to Africa because my kids are here. Where would I put them? I don't want to leave them with a babysitter. Like, it was this whole like thing in my head. So I'm like, I mean, it would have been fun. And a wave runner, where would I store it in California? I can't. So I'm like, right? So I'm like, I don't know what to do with this stuff. So I was like, okay, pass. So I passed it. I had also wanted to go, in my head, been saying this, to see the Rockettes, to go to New York for the ball drop, to do all of this. This was always in my head too. So the next one was go to New York for New Year's Eve, see the ball drop, get Dior accessories and another car. The car was gorgeous. It was like cyan color, gorgeous. And I just love the color. I didn't even care about the car. I just love the color. So I was like, okay. So the girl had asked her price. I'm literally looking around. My mom's there. She's like, 33. And I'm like, 33,000? Okay. Because my mom also traveled. So she kind of knew traveling wise. So I was like, I'm supposed to trust this, I think. 33. All right, 33. So I say 33. And at the end of it, there's a really funny part. You don't even see it. But Drew Carey and I are like, I'm like, what should I do? And he's like, I can't tell you. I'm like, I know, but what should, like, I was like going on and on and on. Like, I was like, I don't know what to do. So I did 33. And they're like, yeah, you got it. I think it was like, if I'm not mistaken, like 6,000 difference. And I think she was like 8 or 9,000 difference. So it was something like that. And I got it all. And I was like, what? But the crazy part was it saved my mom's life because at that point she ended up having a heart attack. And so, yes. And so after I'm signing papers, they're all like, you got to take her to the hospital. She's got to go right now. And if she would have flown back to her hometown, she could have had that on the plane. So I believe all of that was supposed to happen for her to get her stint, for her to be healthy and all of that. So yes, I got all my prizes, but it really saved her life.
Wow. Is she doing all right?
Yes. Now she's 90. She'll be 90 and she's doing amazing. And she lives in Croatia.
Wow. I hope I make it to at least 60. Wow. What an incredible. And I'm always fascinated by those shows because I don't know what it feels like. Like we watch the bloopers and we watch people say the most ridiculous things and do stupid things, but I don't know what I would do if I was in your situation. Like I don't know. Do you gamble? Do you play it safe? Because in my mind, I'm thinking this like Las Vegas. Never been, and I'm not a gambler. But I'm like, what do you do in that situation? So I mean, if you don't want the car anymore, just let me know. I'll come pick it up. All right.
Actually, the crazy thing was, I was like, I love my car. I think I got too attached to my car. I got in a car accident and I lost that car. And so, yeah, it totaled that car. But then I found out that car also was having issues. It was a Ford Fiesta. It was having issues. So I think it saved me because of that too. So I'm always looking at it as there's a reason why all of this is happening.
Right. I I don't know if you can answer this. I gotta ask. So, part of me, I'm always curious about all types of shows. I love reading about them. Is it true? And maybe you can answer this, so you can plead the fifth. Is it true that any prizes you win, you have to pay taxes on?
100%. And it took me a while to pay them. Like I was still paying them. Like it waited to take me a while to pay them. And you have to pay the taxes on the car. Even if you don't take the car off the lot, you still have to pay the taxes on the car.
Really?
And yes. And then you can sell it. Like you can sell it back to them sometimes. They'll allow you to. It depends. Some people do, some people don't. But you can sell it back if you want. And I honestly did. The reason was mine was a stick shift. I don't drive stick. I never knew how to drive stick. So I was like, either I'm going to pay more to change it. And my daughter was young at the time. So I can change more to not have stick, or I can just pay the taxes, get the money. And then I used it for rent and I used it for the trip to New York and all of that. So you can do that. But yeah, you have to pay taxes up front.
I did not know that. And that's
Mhm.
one of the reasons why I always because I always get this one casting director out in Southern California. It was like, hey, do you want to be a guest on The Price is Right or some of these game shows? But I remember reading that and I was like, I don't know if I want to get stuck in that situation. But I do see some of those prizes. I mean, a 2026 RAV4 might be worth the taxes worth on it, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But we've been having such an amazing conversation. I know it's Saturday, so I'm not going to keep you too long. But you know, we talked a lot about happiness, humility, giving back. But one of the things about this podcast that is different from everybody else is I want to challenge people. So welcome to the hot seat, Amie. So this is your first time doing this. So I'll
Okay.
give you the rules. So basically, this is a no prisoner hold right here. This is I put you in the hot seat, and what I do is, we have a certain topic, and I give you a choice. And
Okay.
this is all fun and games. I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble here. It's just all fun. But I'm gonna give you. We're gonna be doing TV shows, so I'm gonna give you two TV shows, and you have to choose between the two.
Okay.
And you could give a short explanation, or you could just say the name, and we move
Okay.
on. But this is the TV show hot seat with you in it. Are you ready to do this?
Ready. Let's go.
All right, let's do this. All right, so first up on the hot seat, we have Friends or Sex in the City.
Ooh, I could tell you friends.
All right,
I
I
love
agree.
friends. Oh my gosh. I went on set at the WB and I got to do like a little acting thing with that. Like, oh my God. Friends is my go-to. Love
Wait,
friends.
did you get to sit on the couch?
Yes.
Oh, I have a picture on my phone. Me and my girlfriend, we went and what was it, 2021? I think it was the at Burbank. We did the studio tour, and I still had the picture.
Yeah.
Amazing picture. Anyway, enough. You're not out this hot seat too early. All right, next we have let's do Everybody Loves Raymond or Seinfeld.
Ooh. Ooh, that's a tricky one. My dad loved Everyone Loves Raymond, so I watched that a lot. But Seinfeld was so funny, like no soup for you. Like I don't know, it was so goofy. So like I can say Seinfeld because it really made no sense half the time. So that's a catch 22. But I did like Everyone Loves Raymond as well.
So your official pick is Seinfeld.
Seinfeld, yeah.
Seinfeld. Okay, all right, that's fair. All right, how about this? Boy Meets World or The King and Queens.
Oh my gosh, the King and Queens. I love the King and Queens. That was such a funny show. With oh, what's her name? Layla? No. Oh my gosh, I can see the name of her. I really loved the King of Queens. And what was the other one? The other one was Boy Meets World. Oh my god, but I loved Boy Meets World too. I used to watch it with Topanga and everything. So, oh, these are hard.
No.
I think I related more at a point to Boy Meets World, and so that's when I loved that one. And then it moved to Kings and Queens.
Okay. How about this? Boy Meets World or That 70s Show.
Okay, so that 70 shows was funny, but I wasn't as much into that 70 show. So I would say Boy Meets World.
All right. How about Martin or um? Oh man, I just had a brain fart. What the Will Smith show? All right,
Fresh Prince of Bel Air.
Martin, Martin or the Fresh Prince of Bel Air.
So actually, I used to watch Fresh Prince of Bel Air. Like that was my big thing. The b-ball school, yeah. All that song, the song at the beginning. Outside of school with a couple of friends, and yeah. Anyway, I love that one. But then I also that was Will Smith, right? He was in it, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. And so then also the other one was Martin. I started watching Martin recently, and I actually do like Martin, but that's like recent. So I think Fresh Prince of Bel Air.
Fresh Prince gets the win. Okay. All right. How about Modern Family or How I Met Your Mother?
Oh, How I Met Your Mother. Hands down. That was a thing that I started watching actually during COVID. I was watching it constantly, and I was like falling in love with How I Met Your Mother. So, How I Met Your Mother.
Now, these are two separate shows, but they're very popular for a
Okay.
specific reason. The Office or Breaking Bad?
Oh my gosh. Honestly, I've heard, maybe I've seen like one episode of The Office. I know
Yeah.
that's awful. And Breaking Bad, I've never seen. So it has to be The Office, although I've never really seen much.
The Office is I'll just say they both have very clearly distinct fan bases for a reason. You love
Mhm.
the shows for a reason. All right, so I'll
Yes.
give you that. So I want to do something fun. Uh, how about Law and Order SVU
Ooh.
or the regular Law and Order?
There's two different ones. Wait a minute.
So
I don't the
Law and
difference.
Order SVU with Christopher Maloney and Mariska Hargitay. The original Law and Order with Jesse Martin and Jerry Orbach.
Marissa, the one with Marissa. That's the one I used to watch. Yep.
I agree with that.
My
All
mom loved it. Oh my gosh. She's a Law and Order fan.
right. I I'll tell you this real quick. When I was in, so I went to Performing Arts High School in Harlem, 129th Street by Columbia, and I used to see Christopher Maloney almost 3 times a week because they used to shoot a lot in that area.
Wow.
And to this day, I'm still trying to get a role in that show. It hasn't happened yet, but we're making
It
our
can
way there.
happen.
It's going to
Yes.
happen. It's going to happen.
Yes. For
And if it
sure.
don't, I'll come back on this podcast anyway.
You're already there. You got to think I'm already there because it's already there, right? You just got to put yourself in it. It's already
That's
there.
true. That's true. You're very right. But enough. I got a couple more for you.
Okay.
All right. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia or Parks and Recreation.
I don't know either.
Oh, you know what? I haven't watched any of those either, so I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Have you? All right. How about this? Wife and Kids. Is it Wife and Kids, or the Bernie Mac show?
Oh my goodness. Okay. So actually, crazy story. I was on Mr. 3000 with Bernie Mac. I actually was, yeah, I was in that
Really?
movie. I was in that movie. And Bernie Mac was amazing. He was the sweetest guy. He talked to all of us. And yeah, I was one of the interviewers that was on set. So it was so fun. But I never really seen the Bernie Mac show. I know Bernie Mac, but I haven't seen the Bernie Mac show. And the other one was My Wife and Kids. My Wife and Kids. I do remember that one, and I do like that one.
I agree with that. Rest in peace, Bernie Mac. You just brought me back. I remember being like 10 years old watching Mr. 3000. Oh man, Bernie Mac was so talented. Oh
Yes.
man, how was he to work with? Was he phenomenal?
He was. He was. You know, I did. So I went there as an extra. I just went there to see if I could get it in Wisconsin. We were up in the stadium because it was during the baseball, right? So we were
Yeah.
up there, and I went there. And the thing is, when you're acting, if you're an extra, this is a really good advice. Just be happy you're there. Like, don't be complaining. Don't be mopey. Just be happy, even if it's like all day. And that's what I was doing. I was like, "Yay, I'm here!" And I was watching, all excited. Next day they call me, they're like, "Hey, we want you now to be a real extra where you're going to be in the box office or whatever, where you're actually going to be interviewing, you're one of the interviewers." And that, so then I started doing that. So then they started putting close-ups of that, and I got hair and makeup done, all of that. And it was like, wow. And that's when we really got to meet him, because he would walk through and talk to us. And then I saw him acting with Angela Bassett, and I was like, oh, this is professional. They had stand-ins at first. They would come together, do their thing, and leave. And it was really professional.
The hot seat. I think you escaped this clutches, but you know what? That's it's all fun and games. Stories like yours, impacts like yours, is what not only makes this podcast thrive, but it makes the people listening around the world realize that me and you are all the same. And I think sometimes we forget that we're still people. And I want people to hear your story and feel your impact, because at the end of the day, there are people struggling out there as well who wants to hear other voices from people who are successful just like you. And I often say a helping hand is a better hand, and it's not just a slogan; it's a way of life. But I don't want to leave on my word. I want to let you have the last word.
Be true to who you are and don't label yourself. The world is your oyster. The world is amazing. Look at Price is Right. Look at anything that can happen. A movie. I never thought of being a rom com. Like, all of these things, just anything can happen if you truly believe and you do not let things define you and say, I don't want to hear any more about people saying things, and just taking out the monkey brain, right? Let's just stop the monkey brain and let's just focus on where we are now and where we want to go. what we want to do. Like, you've got a podcast. I mean, that's amazing, right? So once you look at that, you're like, I did it. So just go for what you really want. And remember, your path is not everybody's path. Also, that's a big thing. No comparison. You do you. You're special, and everyone has their own unique gift.